Hi, welcome to another episode of Frostbites. I am Kelly Frost, your host for today. We just had an interview with John and Rachael from YaJagoff. They are also podcasters and have their own show. It was a great interview, so much fun. They are hilarious, tons of stories to share with you today. So we also have Sheila Hyland. She is our co-host today. So let's just jump right in and get started. And I really hope that you guys are enjoying all of these episodes and that you continue to watch. If you do like them, please subscribe and leave us some messages at the bottom. We'd love to hear what you have to say. Here we go with John and Rachael from YaJagoff. Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Frostbites, and we have John and Rachael, and we have our special co-host today, Sheila Hyland. Thank you guys for coming. Welcome.
Thank you guys. Welcome. Yeah, we appreciate it. We don't get invited to many people's podcasts, so this is cool.
Yeah, we're thrilled to be here.
Yeah.
Now, why do you think that is that you don't get invited? What's wrong with you guys?
I don't know. It's bad breath, bad deodorant. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is.
I don't shower all the time.
Well, think about it. You're like, we're the hosts of a podcast. We don't get invited as guests.
Yeah.
But it's time.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Your time has come.
We're glad to be here nonetheless.
Yes, we appreciate it.
Maybe there's something that they do that,
You know what? We may uncover something.
We will find out, right? By the end of this, you'll be like,
secrets.
this is why they don't get invited.
It'll be easy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. No, we're
Let
glad.
the cat out of the bag here, I think. I don't know.
Dig deep. Here we go.
Mm-hmm. I know. And then before we were like, oh, we won't talk too much and we'll find out some stuff. But yeah, we were like chatty before we even got in here.
Yeah.
Well, these two are chatty.
We are.
Just so you know.
John always says, I never, how do you say it? I don't leave a conversation.
I
don't walk away from a conversation.
doesn't walk away from conversation.
Any
At all.
conversation.
Any conversation.
Anywhere. Right. Don't mean it. It just happens. Yeah.
Interesting.
I hate silence.
Does your voice get tired, John?
No, mine rests all day long. Unless we're driving.
This is why people don't listen.
When we're driving, my voice gets a lot of exercise, and Rachael holds on tight.
Well, wait a minute. You guys do a lot of stuff in a car, though. Is that why?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Thank you, Rourke Automotive.
We're in a car a lot, so that's why we end up doing stuff in a car. That's literally it. Yeah.
It's all coming together now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we were telling you before we even really hit record, right? That we do things throughout the day that every day is different. Mm-hmm. And so we spent almost 9 years working out of my home or going to whatever location we were podcasting. If it was a marketing client, we met them. And so that was what we got used to. At one point, we wanted a mobile office, right?
We did. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we thought about that.
And we will have that at some point.
Investment.
Windows up in Market Square, Jagoff office.
So you do your best work on four wheels.
No question about it. Yeah.
Wagons,
sometimes, well, to be honest with you, sometimes two if we're running late.
Which is a lot.
As we're going around the bends.
Yeah.
You see, now we're learning something.
There you go.
You run late all the time.
Oh,
huh?
me. It's me. It's 100%. Ask anyone. My parents, my husband, John, my kids. Yeah. Wow. I'm always running late.
You know, I like envision like a huge trailer that they're going to be traveling in with like a bathroom, and they never have to stop.
Yeah.
Boy, that's
That's a good point. See, we didn't think
so
of
you'd
that.
have the YaJagoff potty?
Mm-hmm. Sponsored.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Sponsored by Porta John.
There you go.
I like it. There you go.
Porta
John or Porta
What's
Rachael.
happening right now?
Right.
Can't be me. Yeah.
I mean, they could have it wrapped and everything.
No question.
Yes.
Yeah, we really have thought about the mobile office, but
that's
we did
mobile.
not think about a bathroom.
Yeah.
But
That's
to
a
be
really
honest
good
with you, I
point.
think if we do that, we would ask you guys to decorate it.
No question.
Because there should be vines and lights on the roof of the
isn't
Porta
this
Rachael.
beautiful?
Well,
The
yeah,
space.
the space is beautiful. The branding is on point. Kudos. I mean,
I will say,
congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But I cannot take credit for any of the decor in here. This is all Amy Taylor from Mink.
Yeah.
She's the brainchild behind all of this. We absolutely adore her.
It looks really good.
We do all of our podcasts at Mink, and This is just one of the rooms that are here.
Yeah.
As you were saying when
Yeah.
you walked down, it's so colorful.
Yeah.
It absolutely is.
Very
Oh, yeah,
welcoming.
it's a really cool
Yeah.
space. And you look out over the metropolis of South Point.
It is
words.
beautiful
Yes.
here. Metropolis of South Point.
Yes. Every once in a while we see Superman.
MOS.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
Yeah. There's so much going on down here now. I love it.
Yeah, it's a great place.
So speaking of running late all the time, it could
Are you
be
going back there?
the fact that you do so much, both of you. And Rachel, you don't just run the podcast, you and John together, and run this company together, but you're even on the school board of North Hills.
Yeah.
Why? Okay,
Why?
why? just
stop
what
there.
inquiring minds want to know.
Listen, I tell this story all the time. This is my second term. My first term, I was much less knowledgeable, right? You don't know what you don't know phrase, which I sometimes hate because it's this abyss of what does that mean? But it's you don't know what you don't know. And unfortunately, we got in during COVID. We were sworn in December, and COVID, loomed in February and officially was in full effect in March. And so we really didn't have a ton of time to learn all that you need to learn to be on a school board. So we sort of just, we being myself and the others who were in that class of, inductees, we just were thrown in. And it was 2 years of figuring out life. And so we really never understood some of the things that you need to know through policies and how things work and, the budget passing we did, but, there were just elements of it. So when I thought about running, our business was growing at the time. And I said, I'm going to do 1 year, wrap it up and be proud that I volunteered because it is a volunteer position. People, I just want everybody to know you do not get paid. You do get good football seats. That's it. That's like the only
So there is one perk.
That's the perk.
Yeah.
And, but once it was time to kind of make that decision, John's words were, if I could have put this in an envelope a year ago and said, you're going to run again, because I just felt like it wasn't done yet. There was more for me to learn. It's not about me. It's about what I can learn to better my community because we need more volunteers in general. And so, so I don't know that I always make the right decisions, but the decisions that I make, I truly think through and think about it for the benefit of other kids. My biggest pet peeve is, yes, I have 3 children in the district, but how do I react to the kid in first grade? I haven't had a first grader in 8 years. What does that look like? So the more learning and the more education I can get, the better I can serve.
I love that you do all that.
Oh, thank you.
And
that
go
you're
to hockey
giving back
games
and making an impact
and,
on young
you
people.
know.
And,
Yeah,
but
she
yes.
does all of it. I watch it
3
and I
kids.
literally don't know how she
Thanks,
juggles
guys.
it all.
We all
Yeah.
have things scheduled.
And still is I'll just say this, she's still a good mom and a good wife. Like still makes sure, not that the wife's job is to have the dinner on the table, but she still makes sure everybody's eating.
But I do.
Eating all the time to get as much as possible together. Even
that's when the
even if they're
conversations
eating on the
happen,
run.
right?
And
Yeah. It
so
is.
that was always what was important, why we started working out of their house.
good point.
That's what was important. So out of all of this juggling thing, still there's sort of that family time that she makes sure it happens. So
That's
it's
a
crazy.
great point, though, that you work out of your house with John because of your family.
Yeah, that was so, I've made it very clear over the years that I worked for Markwitz Communications. It was a great opportunity to get back into the working world. And from there, I met John, and he had the podcast. There weren't the podcasts that there are now. It was YaJagoff, and that was really it at the time, because podcasts were sort of doing this roller coaster of things, peaking and going through valleys. And he was able to sustain it, even while he was working remotely as a marketing person for EMS. And so I met this guy, famous story is they were like, Alyssa and Saul were like, wait until you meet John Chamberlin. Unimpressed, let me tell you, because we got to an event and John is on his phone. And I was like, hey, John, I'm Rachel. I have heard so much about you, all this stuff. He was like, nice to meet you. Went right back to his phone. I got back to the office. I said, wow, I'm not as impressed as the rest of you. And then he doesn't recall that meeting at all. And he says,
Clearly
when we-
not.
Right. I was home, like literally working in Toledo. I drove in for that and drove back to Toledo the same day.
Is that your excuse?
Yes.
Yeah, right,
Yes,
Right,
exactly.
Sheila.
Right.
So then when he actually remembers, we had a great interaction. And honestly, he and I say Russell Howard from the Pittsburgh Downtown Partnership were the 2 people who Markowitz worked with the most. And I said, I am going to sponge from these 2 people. And, fast forward, he's my partner and we work with the PDP regularly. And so somehow that was this foreshadowing of what was meant to be. But when I left, when I said to Saul, I think I need to do this on my own, we spent about a year going back and forth of like, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? And then once we partnered, I said, I have young children. They were all in middle school or grade school at the time. And I said, I cannot be this all the time, partner. And he's like, I get it. My kids are grown and we'll balance somehow. And so we worked out of my house all that time up until a month ago.
And COVID hit, and everybody else thought they were cool like us because they were all
Yeah,
working at
we
home
were
at that point.
Yeah.
We're like, wait a minute, we've been working from home for years at this point.
You're like, I'm sorry, we've been like a trendsetter. for
Right,
quite
right,
some time.
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
No, but it was cool because they were coming home from school and I was there. And as John just told the story the other day to someone, my husband saw the need to like move us from the dining room table, and he created like this workspace for us in my living room, dining room. And that's where we've really done business for all this time.
So you have your work husband during the day.
Correct.
And then your other husband at night.
Yeah. And they get along really well. So it's like,
Seriously.
thank God. Yeah. You know what I say the most about them? They keep me in check. There is this, I appreciate so much your kind words, but they also know women, we can be catty, we can be sensitive, we can take things over. I'll speak for myself. And each of them is not afraid to say, hey, you need to, like, what are you doing here? Check yourself, in a very, very respectful manner. But it's also funny whenever I'm having a crappy day at home because John will walk in like, hi, guys. My husband will be like, good luck. Your turn, buddy. So that's exactly how it works out.
Like, is there like a baton that they pass?
Oh, not quite. But, the good thing is that, she keeps me grounded as well. She's not afraid to say, boy, you're being a whatever today, that kind of thing.
So you two do have little disagreements?
Every day.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, my son, who is a comedian and will make fun of us every minute he can, and Tracy, who books our podcast, tells us all of the time that the real podcast is the car ride. And that we should have a video of us in the car because, it gets,
It's the pre.
Yes.
It gets interesting as we're talking to clients and then talking about the clients and what we should do here and there, or just talking about, something about my family or my kids or her kids, and we're weighing in. And that's, as everybody said, that's the real podcast. So
need to get them some
that's the
GoPros.
dark side.
Yes.
That's the dark side.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
It's just like they do in all those reality shows.
Yeah.
GoPros
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't know
Right.
that we're that interesting.
Oh, we find you fascinating.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Somebody does.
Yeah.
I want to know how the two of you, and Kelly's great at this too, how do you get to a guest and pull information out of them that no one else has before? Because all three of you are phenomenal at doing that. That's a real gift.
Thanks. I think that, John actually said this yesterday. We were telling you we did something at a local high school, just speaking to them about just the change of media and things like that. I think it's listening more than anything. You know that. I mean, your career has been built on listening to the person. Sometimes we're so quick to know the story. We talked today about the big story that's going around in Pittsburgh, right? And that's easy to do because we all tend to take a different spin on a headline. But when you're actually listening to it, find the other and what else and how and why. And I think that sort of becomes the story, right? Because you were talking about how important it is to listen, but also it's not always about the celebrities. It's about the common person and what their story is.
Yeah, I think, just in general, I think people aren't good at listening anymore. What we spoke to at the high school was a little bit about, it wasn't this serious, but, they were talking a little bit about suicide rates and things like that. And, if you're talking to your friend and your friend is saying, wow, I'm so happy. Oh my gosh, my life is the best. And maybe you're hearing that. But if you know they're your friend, maybe they're actually saying they're not happy and they're covering something up. And you should really listen for the undertone and the real story, right? And I guess in general, I'm intrigued by a lot of things. Like I love these kind of things where how things are made and the behind the scenes. So anything you show me behind the scenes, the White House, behind the scenes of the Arby's, I don't care what it is. I want to know all of it and how it all works. So I guess that part is what helps us maybe interview people because we want to know, hey, this is cool how you got here, but in the meantime, tell me about that awful job you had when you were first starting and things like that. I guess it just, as you would know, or both of you, I mean, we're all generally people that are intrigued by other things, right? Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of it. So I'm not a trained journalist. I'm a hack, like trained journalist here, trained journalist, right? And I just kind of think I do what I do. I'm not trained whatsoever. So I guess I just try to ask intriguing questions. I don't know.
And you have to be curious.
Right.
Yeah, curious is a
For
good
sure.
word.
Yeah.
And I think too, just watching people, because really,
Yeah.
when it comes down to it, language is physical, right? People say one thing, but when you watch them, it really is the physical, and they're telling you something completely different. So when someone's saying, "I'm really happy," but it's not showing that
Right.
they're really happy, or their actions otherwise are
Yeah.
not showing that
Yeah.
too. You know, people want to put on that face, you know, or that outfit, and they walk in the room, but really sometimes it's about getting to know someone on a different level.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
that's a
No,
good
I
point.
agree. Yeah. And as the interviewer, you guys know that, you know, maybe you've approached a subject that they don't want to. And they're saying, oh, well, yes, I'll tell you about my kids. And then in the meantime, their body language, as you said, is saying, I don't really want to talk about my kids, right? So you, as an interviewer, you have to be able to move off of that subject and let's go talk
Quickly.
about unicorns or something like that, you know. We have those eyes when we're in meetings, like if one's saying that, you know, that kind of thing, you know. Same thing is, I think you see that in the person that you're interviewing.
Yeah.
If you're involved in the interview enough, yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Does she kick you under the table whenever that happens?
No. Hey, you know, kicking the eyes. She has the face. Everybody knows the face. You were at the game show and you heard the scorekeeper who works for us, who was cheating or not really getting it right, and she said, "Oh my God, Rachel just gave me the face."
And then she did.
So,
She looked at Katie and she was like, "Katie, did you see it?" Katie's like, "I saw it." Like, and they were not making eye contact with me, which was not true.
Wait, what's
because-
the face?
I don't know. What's the face?
oh,
What's
it's
the face?
it's like.
It's like disappointment.
And it's total. You just know your life is shattered when you get to the face.
Stop it. That is
When we were on the
awful.
radio, we would be like this, facing each other, and
Oh, that,
and then, you
yeah.
know, make a screw up, and I'm like, oh boy, okay, all right, just take the rest of the show over. But you know the face when it comes.
I think everybody has that
Right.
face.
Thank you,
Everybody
Kelly.
does. They do. They do. I will say my biggest downfall is I roll my eyes.
Oh yeah,
At everything, though. It could
Yeah.
be good, bad, ugly, whatever. It could even not be for any reason.
Sure. Yeah.
And my husband calls me out all the time and goes, I saw the eye roll. And I'm like,
Yeah.
listen, I came out of the womb rolling my
Yeah,
eyes.
there
And
you
I'm
go.
like, you cannot
Sure.
hold that against me.
she will never be in the CIA. She can't
Yeah,
cover
that's
any emotion up whatsoever.
No.
She can't cover it
No,
up.
and I'm loud. I can't help it. But yeah, I agree with you with that's part of the body language, right? Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Okay, so game show.
So much fun.
You guys do such a great job.
Oh, thanks.
Like,
we
I-
love that. That's one of our favorite things to do. Yeah.
So I love to go to them.
Yes.
Because it's hilarious just to watch. I mean, I don't know what's funnier, watching you guys play, watching him drink. I mean,
Everyone has said that. This is so funny. Sheila, let me
Is there
cue-
something you want to tell us,
Yeah.
John?
Well, that's the next podcast. Yeah. It's
I was
Frost on
going
the
to say,
Rocks.
cue her in. The funny thing.
okay, yeah.
There's help for that.
I like that.
So we
That's the
produce
nighttime one.
a couple of other podcasts as well. And one of them is the Merry Widows podcast, which is 7 women. I'm not trying, it has nothing to do with this. So clearly there's no competition, but it's 7 women who I ironically have grown up with, knowing them. They're my parents' age and they've lost a spouse. And they are the life of the party. And so they wanted a means to kind of tell their stories. So John and I do not charge them anything. We literally go every Tuesday night and record them. There's no like monetary gain. It's just they're beautiful souls. So they came to the game show and they were texting us like, we've never seen John and we love Drinkin' John. Bring Drinkin' John on Tuesday. I'm like, oh no, what is happening? He ended up bringing, what was it, a bottle of sangria? Yeah, out on the to the game show. And but it's a very chill and relaxed atmosphere. And for anyone who doesn't know, it's Team YaJagoff versus Team PTL. And we each pick a charity every February. And then we play a game show, a known game show, and we put a Pittsburgh twist on it. So this year was Name That Tune, YaJagoff. Last year was Wheel of Yinzer. No, I'm forgetting what Family Feud. YaJagoff was the year before that. So we just basically play, and everybody sort of lets loose. And you pay $10 just to go, and that's just to cover the theater. And then we get small businesses to throw in, money, and then the winning charity gets the money. That's it. Mm-hmm. It's the basic, but it is so much fun because you're literally seeing these people, and they're as competitive as we are. Mm-hmm. Like it's hysterical. Heather this year did Bohemian Rhapsody.
She rocked
Heather Abraham.
it.
Yes. Yeah, Heather Abraham.
Which is like a 7-minute song, which is even more hysterical because they thought it was done, and I was like, "It's not over. Like she's still gonna go."
Last year she ended it with a crescendo of a cartwheel across the stage.
Yes, I was so impressed.
Yeah.
Like she said she was gonna do it. I was like, yeah, right. There's a stage, and I was like, holy cow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So there's always some kind of big crescendo ending, but
we added
it is fun just kind of get everybody together and just let everybody kind of let their hair down. And it seems that the viewers of PTL and such, they love, and you guys, it's just fun to come see everybody just hang loose for a little bit.
Well, we appreciate the support. Seeing the same people who enjoy it, it's becoming a thing. This is the 3rd year. So as we sort of let you know, we're looking at something like Supermarket Sweepy for next year. So we have to see how
And
we
Sarah
do that.
Aziz is a vice president of diversity at the Cultural Trust. Mm-hmm. And she lets her hair hang down because she's the hostess. Mm-hmm. Yeah. She's the MC, and she has a very snarky attitude to keep things under control. And she is not afraid to tell everybody, "You go sit down." Yeah.
She's like, "Rachel, you're making up rules right now." And I said, "I am because
she's a very good MC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it is a great time.
Yeah. I mean, it really is. Yeah. So during it, while she's singing, David Heifeld's looking at the lyrics because he didn't know the lyrics, and watching his face, he's like.
At one point he was like, "Rachel, do you hear these lyrics?" I'm like, "David, this song's been out for many, many years."
I mean, you'd have thought it just came out and it's on the radio now because he was like,
What's she doing?
I'm dying. Yeah. We're in the back like, "Oh my God, just watch his face."
It was very funny. Yeah.
But how many times though do you listen to songs and you don't pay attention to the lyrics, and then you go back, 30 years ago, that's what they were singing about, or that was the meaning behind that song?
Yeah.
Yes, that's a great point. Yeah, that is so true. Yeah. Well, when we actually did an interview with Josh Axelrod of the PG beforehand, and he was asking the 4 of us, what do you think of it? And they said amazing things about it. We were very, very emotional about the nice things they were saying. But at one point, Josh says, "Who's on your team?" And we said, Erica J. and Monica and Steve Rohan. And Steve Rohan has 50 years experience, on the radio. And David all of a sudden went, "Time out." So all the radio people are playing Name That Tune. Hold on. I don't like this, So it was sort of funny at that point, that his aha moment.
The good news is they weren't any better at editing than anybody else because they don't really pay attention to the songs when they're on the radio. They don't really listen to them.
So who won?
We ended up,
of course you did.
Yeah, we did.
Barely.
Was it rigged? Come on, just a little bit.
We win every year, except Ron Smiley got a little, rambunctious last year. And he lost out of his own annoyances. But here we split it. We end up splitting.
We end up splitting the. They do it for the Katie Turkey Fund, which has been going on for years. And every year we kind of do something a little bit different. But this year we did 412 Thrive because Katie Dudas, who is one of our team, is a survivor and works with 412 Thrive.
And I just joined their board.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And we had Sam, who is the executive director. We've had her on the
podcast.
Yeah.
She's fantastic.
Yeah.
Great mission.
She's part of Peel. We always try to promote as much as we possibly can with all of that. So it's great.
Yeah. All these ties.
It's Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I always say. Who needs Kevin Bacon when you have Pittsburgh?
Kevin Bacon's been here.
Right. Right. But we all know each other without him.
Here's the thing with Pittsburgh, right? So they say 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon. In Pittsburgh, it's 1.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, well, we had Mark Ferrari on the show. I graduated with Mark Ferrari.
Right.
Yes.
Right? And he opened up at Jurgles. We know Max Jurgle.
Yeah.
And he opened up for Kevin Bacon, who played at Jurgle. I'm like, seriously? Like, I always tell my kids, this is the city of bridges. Be nice to everyone. Do not burn bridges. They are everywhere. You never know who you're going to meet.
Yep.
20 years from now, 5 years from now, 6 months from now. So just be nice to everybody.
Right.
You know?
No doubt.
Yeah, definitely.
And Pittsburghers in general. are very nice, very kind people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
They
it's definitely a testament to our city.
So those of you who are moving here know that you may take the nice class. Take the nice class from some yinzer.
yeah.
Well, what's interesting is, so I'm not from Pittsburgh, but people who move here tend not to leave. And I never left.
That's a
I
great
didn't
point,
intend
yeah.
to stay. I thought I'd go on to quote unquote bigger and better things. Well, I found out there really wasn't anything bigger or better than what I had right here.
You know, Sheila,
That's a
that's
great
interesting you say that, because even Jeremy Waldrop from the PDP and so many people in your business of, you know, the broadcasting, radio and TV, somehow they all think they're going to, this is a transition place, but we trap all of you to stay here, which is a lot of you.
What's that?
A
Yeah, you
lot of
trapped
you.
us.
We do.
Yeah, somehow Pittsburgh captures your heart and you guys stay here, which is kind of interesting. That's odd in broadcasting
It is.
industry.
It is.
Yeah.
But, you know, people embrace you here. I will say initially it takes some getting used to. It's just a different city. It has its own little quirks.
Sure.
But
Like
once you
potholes?
get it, yes, like potholes. Once you get ingrained in the city and the city life and the culture, you don't want to leave. Just,
Yeah.
I mean, it's fantastic.
That's cool.
Love
That's
it
cool to
here.
hear. I mean, someone who never moved away, that's cool to hear, you know. even at
Especially
this age.
because we've heard, and we all lived it, people who would go, you'd leave from high school, go to college, and then you just stayed away because it was like, why are you going to go back? And then we had this reformation where all these things were changing, you know, food, technology, healthcare, all these things. And we were evolving and we didn't even realize it was happening. And now it's the flip and people are wanting to stay. I think it's a great feeling. Yeah.
So were you born in Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
Whereabouts?
The North Side, which is, you know, I love all these amazing communities that we have, but that's like my heart, you know, because you start there and you can't help it. And it's interesting because I went from the North Side to Ross Township, so I'm in North Hills. And when John was looking to get out of being a homeowner, he was like, where should I look? And he ended up in the neighborhood where I grew up, you know, over in the North Side. So yeah, he loves it as well.
Yeah.
And you were born here?
I was born here, never left, worked out of town a lot, but born in McKees Rocks. And as Rachel said, at some point I wanted to move. I'm not one of those people who wants to move to the country. You know, as I get older, I want to move into the thick of it all. So I moved into Brighton Heights, and I love it there, actually. Yeah.
Where were you born at?
I was born in LA, but I was raised in Portland, Oregon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So everybody says, well, why would you want to leave Portland? And I just wanted to explore other places and ended up in Pittsburgh and decided that Pittsburgh was every bit as great as Portland. So this has been 35 years now that I've lived
How
here.
about that?
Yeah, I came here when I was 3.
Yeah.
We were just talking
Okay,
about
yeah,
that.
don't do the math. Just don't do the math.
No, I love
sticking
the
with
fact,
that.
you know, we love hearing those stories that Pittsburgh somehow captures, you know, and keeps you here. As a matter of fact, we did an interview with a musician once, and Jess Klein, and, you know, she was on our podcast talking about how welcoming Pittsburgh was to the LGBTQ community. And we were like, wait, what? You know, like Pittsburgh is,
Because you do
know,
hear
we're very
negatives,
parochial.
yes, yeah.
We've been here all of our lives, and, you know, whatever. And she said, I moved here from Michigan because it was so welcoming to my community. I'm like, well, how about
This is
that?
great
Sure
feeling.
we are. You know, that kind of thing. We were just shocked. But it's cool to know that people actually want to come here, you know, after we've lived here forever.
And I think there's work to do, but we're doing it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I think we're doing it.
Yeah, it is interesting to hear the outside perspective of everything. But we have so many events, too, that
Sure.
surround things like that. And I think there's just every year there's more and more happening, and our events get better attended. They get bigger. And the venues are getting better and better, too. So
Yeah, for sure.
it's great.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
You mentioned one of your guests.
Yes.
Well, I want to know, who was your favorite guest of all time?
Did you see who they just had on? Besides that, before they answer that, did you see who they just had on?
Wait, who did you just have on?
Talking about like singers. They just
She
had,
gonna sing.
Oh,
Rachel's gonna sing.
Taylor Dane?
Yeah.
Yes.
I did see that. I was so excited.
Send it to my heart.
There you go.
Sounds
Well, I knew we
like
couldn't
the
get through this
only
podcast
one
without her
is
singing,
really
right?
the
There's your music bed for the episode.
I don't care. I just like, who cares? Express it, right?
Yes.
Meanwhile, of course, her
Yes.
dad was a singer, so
Yes.
that's where she gets it from.
Oh, and he'll tell me like, that was a little tough, right? I don't care.
It's tough on you.
I don't care.
Now
Oh, yes.
Now
No,
they
my
don't have to say Taylor
Yeah.
Dane because they just had her on.
Yeah.
So
So we
besides,
had right, and so some of the things that we do is we work very closely with Drusky Entertainment, and anytime they're bringing people in, the Carbonaro Effect was just in, and they were like, "Hey, do you want to talk to Michael Carbonaro?" And we were like, "Yes, sure." Oh yeah, I mean, we'll make time for that. That was even more interesting. Not that Taylor Dane wasn't interesting. It's interesting to see how their lives. I'm living in 1980, whatever, when that song came out, and I was 13. Mm-hmm. She's living at her current state. So you have to meet there, right? Mm-hmm. So what I wanted to talk about was 13-year-old Rachel enjoying her songs. She's beyond that. Mm-hmm. So going back to reading the room, we had to realize very quickly on that interview, that's not what she wants to talk about. She wants to talk about where she is now and how the song affects her now. And so we had to really pivot on that interview. But it was pretty cool. Yeah, it was a pretty cool interview. Yeah.
I guess as far as, I don't know, I love it. I have two answers, maybe three, I don't know. But to me, the craziest one we've done was the Tiger King people. Do you know the show?
Oh, yes.
So we interviewed two people from the Tiger King cast, and literally while we were talking to them, the guy just started smoking dope, and then
had to be
he
bizarre.
told everybody how broke he was, and if you ever come to his town, please order a bunch of pizzas because he delivers pizza.
If you want to Venmo me, we were like,
it was just the craziest interview. They were both by Zoom, but one of the cooler stories is that we got to interview Garth Brooks. And we literally wiggled ourselves into a room where Garth Brooks was. And because we had a big video camera with us, they thought we were with the TV stations. So they lined us up with Channel 11, Channel 2, Channel 4, YaJagoff. And so we got like a quick video interview with Garth Brooks, which was super cool. Yeah. What about you?
I don't know. I mean,
Pete Hewlett.
Pete Hewlett's one of my favorites, but I've known him my whole life. And I think that Pete Hewlett is the underdog. He doesn't get the recognition that Donnie Iris and my dad and the Jaggers get. And he is an icon. I mean, he's on the Billy Joel Innocent Man album singing. Like, do people know this? This is Pete.
They do now.
He grew up in the Rocks.
Yeah.
And when I was a kid, I would hear his band playing at his house. And then when Rachel and I meet up, she goes, "Oh, I know Pete." I'm like, "Oh, I want to know."
You want to have him on the podcast?
Like, he literally lived 2 streets away from where I was, and
his stories about like Elton John and Paul McCartney.
Yeah, he's on when Billy Joel closed down Shea Stadium. Pete is there. He's singing right on the stage.
It's crazy.
He would sing all the high notes for Billy Joel once Billy couldn't sing them all.
Wow.
So, and he lives here. He lives in this area.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
But no, Cyril Wecht is my favorite. I still think having him.
Did you understand most of what he talked about? Because Cyril uses words that I'm not even sure actually exist.
Great point.
Yes.
I always feel like, I mean, I'm like this with people I interview all the time. You're learning, you know that. Mm-hmm. But with him, you really take a step back because you're realizing that this person is accessible to you. And you all of a sudden his career sort of goes in front of you. Like, these are the things he's done. So I think once you get beyond the awe of it all, you're just sort of letting him talk. And then good luck getting him to stop, right?
You know what got him to stop? Tell him what got him to stop.
He talked for an hour and 3 minutes. So we literally, at this point, are looking at each other. And I'm like, And I'm like, it has to stop. Like, we have to stop him. And all of a sudden he goes, "Well, I'm done talking. I've never met that gentleman over there. I believe that's our Super Bowl winner, Santonio Holmes. So I'm going to go talk to him, and it's been lovely chatting with you." And he got up and he walked away. And then Cyril and Santonio, we were like, who even tells this story that those two over there kibitzing? Like,
it was one of our porch doors, and they were
hysterical.
Just hanging out in the backyard. And like,
it's not a
Cyril
joke.
Wecht.
It's not like, what do you get when Cyril Wecht walks up to Santonio Holmes?
Yeah. Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Mm-hmm. I would love to talk to him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's amazing. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can't imagine
so
the stories
smart.
that he has.
So smart.
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
So smart.
And his
so
perspective, you know what it is? The older you get, you're allowed to have, we pussyfoot around what we want to say because we want to make sure we're saying it appropriately. He doesn't have to.
Oh, yeah.
He's been through all of the decades of all of it. And if he wants to say, "I don't like blah, blah, blah," he can say it. Mm-hmm. He's earned that, you know. We actually interviewed him for the second time over COVID when he was coming out and saying, "I'm not saying COVID is not a thing, but I'm telling you, I'm going to see my family and no one's going to tell me otherwise." And I just gave him credit for that. He was practicing his belief and how he was not going out and contaminating people, but he was saying, "I'm having dinner on Sundays with my family and we're not masking." And I was like, okay. Like, I'm sure other people did that, but they just weren't vocal about it, you know? Mm-hmm. And so it was interesting to have his perspective and so bluntly put, you know.
And as we found out, his wife is even more accomplished than him, or just as. We had no idea.
Yeah. She was in the Army, the Navy. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Military.
She was military and she was a nurse. And there's all kinds of stuff.
Wow. Okay. Well, we're going to have to find him.
There you go.
Aren't you curious to now learn who you want to have on your show that you haven't been able to get yet? Who's that
Easiest
one
question.
guest you really want to have?
Sidney Crosby.
I
would give anything.
You mean
to have
Sydney hasn't
Crosby.
agreed to come on your show yet?
No, and how funny, because I was just asked this for an interview, and I said, Sidney Crosby. And the woman said, you guys haven't talked to him, as if it's that easy. And I think because Mario is more accessible, I mean, we've never reached out, but it's him. It's Sydney. And to me as a parent, and as a parent of hockey players, I just think there's no one better than, I shouldn't say that Arthur Moats is the best athlete to ever know, but I think in that genre, it's him. He's just, and a kind-hearted soul, and probably one of the best that ever will be, and right here in our city, his whole career.
Yeah, I get that. I completely get that.
Yeah. What's yours?
Mine is Michael Keaton. Only because I'm pretty sure that he's the first person to use the word Jagoff in a major motion picture, which was Night Shift. Yes. Wow. And so, and we actually did make a couple of overtures to get him, but he was busy and things like that. But that's
I have a good backup for you.
Is that right?
And he's not gonna believe I say this, but my boyfriend, when he puts glasses on,
Stop it.
looks just like
Let's bring him in.
I swear.
Yes.
Andy's in.
Andy's in, it's a backup.
This would have been the perfect April Fool's thing for
Oh,
John.
my God.
I can't wait till he watches this. He'll be like, I cannot believe I said that.
Just tell him to
We'll put it
practice
really
all
far
of
away.
all of the night shift lines. Just practice all those, and we'll come in and we'll do a
Just say
podcast with
Jagoff.
him. Yeah, Jagoff.
I love that pitch. We're in.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
Andy
That's an
Mann's going to
April
be on
Fool's
your show.
episode, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Cannot wait to see this.
Yeah.
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah. Easy.
So you mentioned Arthur Moats. I think he's incredible as well. I remember doing the dodgeball.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
yeah, right.
wow. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And Santonio Holmes. I mean,
Yes.
you just said both of them.
Yes.
So they had this dodgeball tournament. So Rachel, she could ask me to jump off a bridge. I'd be like, okay, which one? Right. So she says, we're going to do this dodgeball thing, blah, blah, blah. You want to come on with all the other girls that you're working with right now? We were the only all-female team, right?
Yeah, it was before Peel. And yes, your group was fantastic. Someone got hurt.
We all got hurt.
You really
we
did.
were probably the oldest team there.
Yeah,
And we were the
we
only,
did have young teams.
Yeah, and we were the only all-female team. We didn't realize we were supposed to be practicing because the one
They looked the best, but everyone
I think it
else
was the
practiced.
J&D waterproofing team that really took it really serious. They were.
Yeah, there were like 20-some-year-old boys, and they walked in, and they were like this, and their necks. So I was like, "Oh, we're in trouble. We're in trouble." But they were like, "Nothing above the neck. You can't throw a ball." As soon as we played the first time, someone was like, "Donk."
Yeah.
It's like, "Oh no!"
How do you even? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how you can target without.
We just started going down, and then one of the girls fell, and she was like, "I think I broke my knee." I'm like.
It was.
We're
yeah.
geriatrics at this point.
But we felt so bad because it was the first of its kind, and we were not prepared for like injuries and
Right.
you know what
neither
could
were
have
we.
been.
We
Yeah,
should
so-
have padded everything that we possibly had. But Arthur Moats was such a doll. He was like, all right, so she's out. He's like, I got you. He came in. I'm like, you're joining our team? I was
Yeah,
like,
he's such a stand-up
I was
guy.
like, you are an angel. And then he had these gloves on. He could have caught the sun. These gloves were, his hands were huge and they were just like grippy. I was like, this is great. So every time like something came, I was just like behind him.
Yeah. Yeah, dodge. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
it
is
was
just
great. I mean, they
honestly,
were
he's the
wonderful.
best guy. We found him so serendipitously in the sense that when we were working with this autograph company that we had worked with years ago, he came on board and was working with them. And I went on the Steeler cruise with, the company. And funny, I was watching all of these players and what they're like, and I would never let my children intrude on their time, because I know that they're there for the cruise, but they need time too. So we were very like, we're here, we're hanging out. And Arthur's wife was the only one who didn't have a nanny and did everything on her own. And she was with her kids, and she was a mama bear. And at the end, I said, I just want to tell you, this was so amazing as a mom to watch. And she was like, thank you so much. And we have been friends ever since. Shonda is an amazing human being. And I've had the honor of watching his kids grow up. One of two of our kids are the same age. So it's been cool to see the series of what they go through. But he's many years younger than us. And he is an impeccable business person, spokesperson, athlete, father, human being. Like, I just have nothing but good things to say about him. Yeah. Right?
No, I agree.
There's nobody better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great to watch them do everything that they do. Yeah.
He was in, so our gag with him, our first gag ever, was Junior Achievement was doing this guerrilla marketing of selling tickets to their golden ticket that they had. And so we tried to find celebrities to literally go walk around some public place and sell these tickets. They had to sell 5 tickets, and we videoed it. And he said, I'll do it. So we went to Robinson Town Center or Settlers Ridge, and we had him walk around on the streets and sell 5 of these tickets.
He did it in like 3 minutes.
And he walked up.
Really
Yeah,
sure.
it was great. Yeah. And that's kind of, and he said, guys, I just kind of want to get my name out there. Like, if you can help me do that. Then he got picked up by the Cardinals, and he wasn't sure. Then he hurt his knee or something. And then he's like, okay, I got it out of my system. I'm coming back. And then, it was, he's just been great to us, actually. He's a good guy. Yeah.
Good friend. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I've known you both in different aspects for so long.
Long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know with Darieth, you were interviewing her. We were at Monterey Bay.
Right. Yeah,
You know?
that was some time ago, huh? Holy smokes, yeah.
And that was, BR before Rachel.
BR?
Well, you guys are a lot
That's
older
right.
than me.
Yeah. I was
now.
3. Yeah,
Hey
I was
now.
same as Sheila. I was 3.
I was 2.
No, I forgot about that, right? Yeah.
I just came across that footage not too long
Oh,
ago.
my gosh, yeah.
I was like, wow, that was so long ago.
Right.
Yeah. That
Right.
was a fun interview.
Holy smokes.
Rach, I've known you since I don't even know.
I know.
I mean, we used to go to lunch at Atria's all the time and
Yes.
just
Yeah.
discussing everything that you were doing.
An evolution of how things, when you look back, you can kind of place what year it was, because it's like, oh, that's when I was doing this. You know, when you kind of have to figure it all out, to piece it all together to get to where you want to be. That was sort of our thing. Yes, our theme yesterday was like, figure out what you don't want to do to find out what you do, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it's so interesting because you look at some of these things and you're like, but we were doing this together, and then that didn't work out. But then we did this together, and that didn't work out. But look, here we are. Yeah, it's interesting.
Every time they ask me to do anything, I'm like, yep, yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Where?
well,
What time?
same. Yeah.
go.
Yeah. And again, congratulations. This is wonderful. We're thrilled
Yeah.
that you're doing this. We're thrilled that, you know, when someone wants to pursue something that they love, you know, have at it. And I in particular love seeing that you're doing it so regularly. That's the thing with podcasts I think people don't realize. You know, what's the key? Consistency, right? So.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, next time you guys have a dodgeball thing, I'm willing to get hit in the head with it. And
We hung up dodgeball, but
boy,
yeah, we'll think of
sounds like we
something.
have to
Taking one
revisit
for the
that,
team.
though.
Yeah.
It sounds like we have
Kelly's-
to
yeah,
revisit
she's
that. Like,
in.
Kelly's in.
Yeah.
I'm
let's
not
figure
in.
that
I'm
out.
sorry. I'm going to stay on the sidelines after hearing your story, Kelly. I'm done. I'm out.
that's what I said. I'm like, I love games.
You'll be the
and everything
sideline
else.
reporter?
Yes, I'll be the
Yeah,
sideline
all right,
reporter
there you
or the
go.
referee.
Okay, there you go.
Figure that out.
Cheap
Yeah.
shot. You're out.
Life's too short. I say playful purpose. You always have to be playing something, some
Yeah.
kind of game, like, you know, at dodgeball, and then you guys are always doing your stuff for all the charities. And
Well, as you know, it's so important to do it for the charity. It's not about us. It's not about what we're doing. You know, we're here. We're not going anywhere. So how do we figure out how to, you know, sort of penetrate good and figure it out, and how we can help as many as we can.
Yep.
Right?
yeah, you guys are all about that. So
Thank you.
I really
Well,
appreciate it.
And the same back at
Same,
you,
yeah.
right? Everybody understands that part of it. I think, well, the right people understand that part of it, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you guys do such a great job.
Oh, well, thanks.
So it's
Thanks.
really
Same
a
back
joy
at you.
watching.
Yeah,
everything
right
that
Same
you
back
do.
at you.
We're in awe.
Oh, please. Well, don't be.
Yep. Well, we always try to end the podcast with a little frostbite,
Okay.
and I always let the co-host ask the question. So
So these
all
are
her.
good questions too. I assume you came up with them all, but I'm going with number 6.
Okay.
Okay.
Before we go, could you leave us with a frostbite, that defining moment when you realized the potential of your ideas and decided it was time for you to take that leap?
Dun dun dun.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I think I know.
So I'll
Well,
try to
I'm-
tell it in the shortest version of the story. When Rachel quit her job at Saul's, she called me, and I thought she was looking for a job. I was sending her information about jobs, but I didn't know she was going out on her own. But anyways, she called and said, I'd like to help you with this YaJagoff thing. And it was just a thing at that point. It wasn't really a thing like it is now. And I said, man, I don't know. I think we're good. Like saying like, oh my God, like don't know that there's anything here. Like, I don't know that there's a future. You have a family, you whatever. Like, please, I don't want to be responsible for that. She's like, okay, you, whatever. And she's like, oh, wow, he didn't even want me involved in it. And that wasn't the case at all. But the iconic moment was when she came in and like the whole thing just totally flipped. And it was, it really was, the whole partnership was good. But in the meantime, like the whole podcast just started to grow from that, like the synergy between the two, and the fact that she came in and she owned it heart, mind, and soul, just like I was doing it with the same passion. And so that's the iconic moment, I think, for this.
I appreciate that. And my story is different than his, but ultimately I certainly appreciate that, because I think, to have the vision that he had all those years ago, no one else had it. And I just was able as an outsider to say, do you see what this is? Sometimes it just takes another person. So that's that story. But here we are that many years later. I think it's the golden quills for us, because we literally, I told you the story, the podcast world is saturated at this point. And so we, as I'm sure you are, pitched regularly on, what do you think? I'm going to start this podcast. And sometimes they all start to blur. And it's sort of like, how do you differentiate yourself from the others, especially when you're aging in the process? And so that always is, top of mind. And so we were like, we're killing ourselves. We're on the radio for, 5 nights a week, and we're doing this podcast. What's going to give? Maybe we need to see what's next. And then we won 3 golden quills. And in all the time I was at the Tribune Review, we had to submit, and I never won anything. It was just like, oh, here's whatever. And it was the LA Times, the year that we won, that they, punted to them to be the peers who review, and 3 categories. We beat the Post-Gazette in a sports story. Kid you not. And I wasn't even there because it was my daughter's confirmation. And he literally is texting me and like, we won this category. I was like, I won a golden quill. I was crying in church. Like, I won a golden quill. Then he texted me, was like,
you're supposed to be focusing.
And then
on
we
church.
won this one. Oh, please. Confirmations last forever. Anyway, by the 3rd one, when we found out that it was the Post-Gazette that we had beaten for sports, it was like, this is legitimacy. And it was for a story about Jason Sowers' Most Wanted Fine Art, and how they do these amazing, it's art, but they do the derbies in Fayette County.
Demolition Derby.
Oh, okay.
So it was all about
crazy.
the culture of the Demolition Derby.
And
that
one.
episode, yeah.
Yeah, so it was nothing against, I'm an awe of journalists in general. So the fact that it was that just really held more clout.
And
so
for people that don't know,
yeah,
that's like the Oscars of journalism.
Yeah.
The Golden Quills.
Yeah.
I
act like people, like, you should just know this,
and that's it. The popularity contests are fun and all that, but this is a peer review. Mm-hmm. Like, these are journalists, and I'm not even a journalist, as I said earlier, and here we are.
It was funny because we were so proud that, like, our marketing clients, like Rorik and our Local 2, Jimmy from Local 2, was like, I am so proud. Like, they didn't know what they were proud of, but we were like, we won a golden quill. They were like, this is great, guys. So, yeah. So I think that was it. But obviously, it's every day. I say this all the time. We're so honored to meet so many great people like yourselves, but I have the best partner, and he just really levels me out, and we just keep going. It's take the risk, figure it out, and keep moving.
Yeah, you guys are so great together. And when I saw that you won that, I was like, oh, I'm
over the moon. Yeah,
right
I can't.
I knew how happy you were going to be, and just that's amazing. I'm so proud of you guys.
Yeah,
you are
thank
doing
you.
such great things for the city, for each other,
Oh, well, we
for
appreciate
your
that.
families. Really, it is a joy to watch you guys every single day and listen to you. So.
Thank you.
We should tell my kids
Congratulations. The kids are always the last to know and
for
understand
sure.
and
Like,
appreciate.
there's
Always
Dad.
the last.
Tell him to get a shirt that fits.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on.
Yes,
I
for
really
sure.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, we're glad to be here, and had a great co-host, so we were thrilled that was the other part of it. But again, kudos, and hoping that this continues to grow for you as well.
Yeah.
We'll be cheering you on.
Absolutely.
And tell us when the first episode of Frost on the Rock, Kelly Frost on the Rock.
Kelly Frost on the Rock.
That's right.
That's
When
the
we do
evening
that,
version.
the dark version.
Yeah, that
where
comes
we'll
on
all
after
get back
midnight.
together.
The dark web.
The rated R version.
Sangria.
And I will give you credit for the name. Absolutely.
Cheers.
All right, guys. That's another episode of Frostbites. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next one.